Welcome back to the NOIC Godcast. We're so excited to be diving into our next series, which is Born in Bethlehem, I believe.
Mm-hmm, that sounds good.
Born in Bethlehem. We're professionals around here.
We totally know what we're talking about.
Before we get into that, though, I just want to thank everyone that tuned into last week's
whatever you want to call that
podcast.
Mm-hmm.
It was interesting.
Yeah.
To say the least. And if that's something that you guys liked, let us know. We're here for you guys.
Yep.
But yeah, it was interesting. So if you didn't catch that, you should probably go back and watch that.
I thought you were saying if you didn't enjoy it, don't tell us.
Yeah, don't tell us if you didn't enjoy that crap. All right, so back to the task at hand. Okay, so Jesus in a manger.
Mm-hmm.
Jesus as a baby, like a literal baby that can't do anything for himself. Mm-hmm. Why would he have to do that? What's the reason for him to come as a baby and then grow up to die for our sins? That's what I want to kind of unpack today.
All right.
There's so many writings that spoke of a Messiah to come, one that would save the world from sin, one that would be mighty and just and sinless and perfect, that he would be able to pay for the price of sin, not just for one person, but for the whole entire world, past, present, and future.
Yeah.
But they didn't think that person, the mighty one, the one that's supposed to save all of us, would come as a baby.
Yeah.
Like, very helpless, tiny baby. Why wouldn't he have just been created as an adult and then, saved us from our sins like the next day? Like it would have been a lot easier if he would have been. He was just as just. He was just as sinless if he would have just been created as an adult, and then go on your merry way to the cross like that same day. You know what I mean?
Right.
But he didn't, and I think that we as Christians, we don't think about that. Like I've never thought about that. Like I've never thought, like literally, like in our human brains, it makes sense. Like people start as babies and move up, but like God doesn't have to work by those contracts. Like he could have literally just been poofed. Here we go. Yep. This is how we do it. But like, so the reason why this is what this whole podcast is about is why he had to do that. My belief of this is that we had to have an example. Mm-hmm. So the word Christ-like literally Christian means to be Christ-like.
Right.
So if he was never someone,
how would you know what that is?
Yeah, how would you know? So if Jesus would have came and lived, and if Jesus would have not come and lived his perfect sinless life, then we wouldn't know how to be like him. Right. It would be pretty hard to be like someone if they didn't have a life to look at. Right. Like if he would have just came and been poof, this is our sinless, perfect sacrifice, and then died, and then for the rest of eternity is just be like him, and then he was only here for a day. Right. Like, how are you supposed to be that? How are you supposed to be that? Jesus came to be our example, to be the one to show us how to act in every situation. This also, it's kind of a twofold thing. This also allows us to be closer to God. Because not only does it's not just that our sins are gone and we're able to have a relationship with God, but Jesus has lived our lives.
Right.
I mean, he's the one that's able to, relate to us. So, he went through everything that we would have. He came and he lived a full life to know what it would be like to relate to us.
Right. So, when we're like, oh, well, these people were making fun of me, or these people were whatever, he's just like, yeah, I know.
Yeah.
I've been there.
Yeah, exactly.
He can say all the situations we go through. He's like, yeah, been there, done that. He can actually say that. If he would have just came, and then there would have been never that, he understands. Yeah. Actually understands. God knows everything, but he didn't fleshly get to experience that. And this he did. He didn't get to experience it.
Exactly. And that's think about the people that you're around. Your friends, your family, coworkers, whoever. Think about the people that you gravitate towards. The people you gravitate towards are the people that have been through the same things as you. You're not, in some cases you do have many friends from different walks of life, but a lot of times the people that you're really close with are the people that go through the exact same things you go through. Like me and Rachel here have been best friends for about 300 years now.
We look good, don't we?
And even though we're technically in different life path walks, we've always been, because you're a little bit older than me, we've gone through a lot of the same things in with our church and family things, and just we've gravitated towards one another because we understand one another, because we can relate to it.
Right.
and Jesus has been through everything and anything that we may face. Now, it may look a little different in his life. Like,
Right.
Jesus never owned an iPhone that he just bought and he dropped it and shattered the screen.
Yeah. It's
Or,
very unlikely.
it's very unlikely that he had an iPhone. But I'm sure there was a lot of things he's probably dropped and broke. I'm sure that there was a lot of vases full of whatever vases are filled with back then. Oil and water and food. I don't know. But like he probably dropped several things. Like I think that's the thing is we don't humanize
But we
Jesus.
think of him as like a perfect being, like, well, he would never drop something.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like he
If he
would
did,
know.
he just caught it.
Yeah, like he would know what's gonna fall, so he would catch it. Like we don't like he's some kind of like superhero. But like even as a kid though, like he had like all of the like rowdiness of kids. Like he was still human.
Like Mary had to be like, don't jump off of that.
Right.
Like, you know what I mean? We don't even think about those types of things. I think it's because he is 100% God, but he's also 100% human as well.
I think we're afraid to make him human because we feel like that takes away the God aspect.
Yeah, which it
But
doesn't.
It doesn't because he's 100% both. And so like just as much as he was God, he was the same amount of human.
And I think that's a good thing for us to realize as like us people here, we're obviously not God and we're human. And he was also human. So even when there's things that are the way, I guess in my brain, how I always thought of things was if I messed up something, even regardless if it was a sin or not, like I would always think, well, I'm not a good Christian because I messed that up.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? Like when like things happen, it's like dropping the vase or dropping your phone, or if something goes wrong and you can't even help it. Like say you get into like a fender bender or somebody, you slam somebody's finger in the door and you don't mean to, like you're like, oh well, that's just like it's not sin because it wasn't malicious intent. It wasn't, but you always think, well, I'm like God didn't have to do, like he never did that. You know what I mean? But he did. Like I'm sure that Jesus bit somebody. You know what I mean? Not intentional, you know what I mean? But like as a baby, you think of like you're eating and stuff like that. But I think that's the problem is that we don't humanize him enough. But he was a carpenter by trade, so I'm sure there's been several times that
a couple of thumb smackings.
There's a couple of thumb smackings. So like that's the thing is like he's literally gone through almost every walk of life or things in a walk of life. Like he's done all the things that we have gone through just in a different sense because it's different life and all that stuff. But the main basic things, hurt, hunger, social aspects, like he was social. He had a social life if you wanted to like say that. But like he's been through every single one of those. He's been hated. He's been loved. He's been, tossed aside as if he wasn't important. You know what I mean? Like he understands what that feels like. And even though God sees everything and understands everything, it's different when you have someone that's actually lived it. And while these are funny things to think about, Jesus lived a life just like ours, and he had to be taken care of as a baby, had to be taught how to walk, talk, eat things,
not eat things.
Not eat things. Don't put that in your mouth. The stones on the ground or something like that. And I guess that's my, like the point of this is he came so that we could relate to him. And it is just that, like, it could, and honestly, if you think about it in all the other like religions, even though they were like people, if that makes sense, but a lot of times you don't ever see like an actual life of them. Right. It's like this is the way that they were, and like,
they're put up like on like the high pedestal, and like they're just like the someone special. There's never that relatable aspect.
No, like everyone's like, you have this high thing to obtain, and it is like to be like Jesus is high obtained, but he did it. Do you know what I mean? And so, not that we're going to be sinless or perfect, but that's what he came so that we would have something to strive to be. Because I remember someone in our church, they're gone now, but I remember them saying, well, what's the point? If you can't ever obtain that,
why try?
Then why try? And I guess if you're looking at it, you could be like, oh yeah, that makes sense. Like, why would you even try? Right. But that's what we're called to be. God's not looking for perfection.
No, he knows that we're not going to achieve it. But every step closer is closer to him.
Yes.
And it makes our relationship better with him.
Yeah. So, yeah, Jesus basically just came to relate to us and to be able to be like, I went through this, you can do this too. And then also to, save us from our sins, to be able to even have a relationship with God. Because without that, we couldn't even go to God at all.
Right.
So, but yeah, I don't know about you, but I'm just thankful that we serve a God that understands us, that loves us. And most of all, he sent his only begotten son so that we could have a personal relationship with him.
Mm-hmm.
Like, think about you're the mom here.
I am.
Yes. Like, could you imagine sending your son to die for people that may or may not even want you? Do you know what I mean?
Right.
Like,
it would be much easier for like if I had to sacrifice something, like I would much rather give my life than to ever give my children's life.
Yeah.
Like, and I think that that's the whole point, that like that is so much harder.
Mm-hmm.
And that just proves God's love even more, because like God could have just sent himself.
oh yeah.
But how much more he loved us that he would send his son,
Yes.
not just himself.
Yeah. But yeah, so that was this week's podcast. This week's Charge Up Challenge is to each day write down a list of tasks that you need to do. So like, everybody has their to-do list throughout the day.
List.
It's a good list. It's a good one.
No, I said big. It's not good.
It's not a good one. Not a good list. Maybe it's laundry. Maybe it's, I don't know, cook food. I don't know. Maybe it's just get out of bed. Whatever your list may be, think about those tasks that you have to do. And before you even start your day, pray for God to show you how you're supposed to react in those tasks. Because that's the whole thing. Jesus came and he is an example for what we should be. So there's always going to be a way that Jesus would handle it and the way that we would handle it. So I want you guys to just throughout this week, think upon those tasks before you actually go to do them, and pray to God to show you how Jesus would react in this situation, how he would handle this. Because I think a lot of times we forget about Jesus a little bit. We're like, oh, we got this list of things to do, and then I'll read my Bible. When I read my Bible, that's when
I think about Jesus.
That's when I'm going to think about Jesus. But to be Christ-like is your whole life. Mm-hmm. So it's not just when I pray, when I read, when I, am doing things with my church. It's every day. It's supposed to be every day. It's like back when we were talking about the Jesus over you thing. It's supposed to be a daily thing. But yeah, just think about those things and pray on those to have you do the things the way that God would want you to do them and not the way that you want to do them. Today's considerable quote is, 1,000 times in history, a baby has become a king to rule a nation, but only one time has a king become a baby to save all nations. I don't have a person.
I assumed.
It's not a person.
I'm kind of starting to think you're just doing these.
These are just me.
These are just your quotes. Just don't want to admit it.
I put them on Pinterest so people can look them up. So yeah, and today's feature content is How Many Kings by Downhere. Thank you guys for joining this hot mess once again. And we will see you guys next week. Bye.
Bye.